Well, hello. In this example, we're going to talk about how to remove these pesky error messages from our text extraction formula. So the goal here was to get the iPhone model numbers from these rows of data, and we stepped through how to do that with the mid formula. And when we walked through with mid, we found that we had to give a hard-coded value for the start number. So mid will say, look in this cell, starting here, return this number of characters. And we realized that there wasn't a standard start number in our cells. The start number of the model number here is a number much higher than the start number of the model here, because this is iPhone space the model number, this is new space iPhone space the model number, blah, blah, blah. So then we use the search formula to quickly find where the actual iPhone model number starts within the cell, regardless of where it exists. So if iPhone shows up in the 12th position or in the first position, it doesn't matter, search will return the number where it begins, and we can retrieve the model number from there. However, our problem is we found that some cells don't have iPhone in it. And if iPhone isn't inside of the cell, like in this example in row 7, then our formula will return an error. So what we want to do is we want to catch those errors and we want to standardize them to a value. In this case, let's standardize them all to a blank value. So there's a really easy way to do that in Excel, and we're going to use, it's called the IFERROR formula. So the way IFERROR works is, IFERROR, the first argument would be your formula that you want a value to return. So IFERROR will say, I'm going to evaluate this. If it's an error, what do you want me to do? And we could put another formula here, but in our case, we're just going to put double quotes, which will mean blank, so it will return nothing. So this is a really nice feature because previous to IFERROR, what you had to do was use a formula called ISERROR, and I'll show you that right now. And the way ISERROR works, it's a little annoying. ISERROR, it would check the value of an expression, and it would return true or false. So in our situation, if we wrap this in ISERROR, we then have to add an additional if statement. And our logical test would be, is our expression an error? And if the value were true, then we would say return nothing. And if the value were false, we'd have to copy our entire formula over again and say return this should the value be false. That's a bit of a pain. It's much nicer to just combine these two formulas, which Excel very nicely did, into one IFERROR, and then it will evaluate the expression. If the expression is not an error, it will return the result of it. Otherwise, the value, if it is an error, return blank. So now we have these values remain unchanged. The expression evaluates just as we expected it to. But instead of returning an error for the cells that don't have iPhone inside of them, we're returning a blank, or in this case, the blank that we specified. We said return blank cell. We could say not iPhone. Doesn't matter. We can make this whatever we want. We could make it another formula. We could say we want to go find the model number for a Galaxy phone. For example, we could repeat our process and say we're going to use the mid formula, search for Galaxy, and return that model number. In our case, we'll keep it simple for now and say if it's not an iPhone model number, just return blank. Make it easier for us to filter that out as we move forward in this example with our actual analysis. So at this step, we'd say we're almost done cleaning up these values. Our problem is as we look at some of these, now we see there's a slash here because this, for some, just the way that they wrote this out, iPhone 5/5S. There is AT here, so iPhone space at. So that's probably not a good value, but something we need to deal with. This one just has a semicolon in it. So iPhone 6 semicolon. The problem here is if we compare an iPhone 6 semicolon to iPhone 6, Excel will tell us these are different values, and we want them to be the same. So we're going to need to do a little bit more cleaning. We're going to want to clean on the actual value. So we want to get rid of semicolons. I think there was a comma. There would be a comma in here, comma. We're going to want to rip those out. And then we're also going to want to do a little cleaning on price. So we can kind of scan and say, hey, if someone's selling a iPhone at $5, oh wait, the actual thing is repair. They're not selling an iPhone, they're offering to repair one. We're going to want to filter those out. So those will be our next two steps. Remove semicolons, slashes, commas, stuff like that, and then do some filtering on the price so that we're only actually looking at good iPhones, not an Air Jordan iPhone 6S for $1. Probably not a good listing. So until next time, keep your Excel skills sharp.